The year that would decide the fate of the world. The man who once commanded armies across Europe, the man whose voice shook nations, was now hiding beneath the ground. Berlin was burning, buildings lay in ruins, and Soviet forces were closing in from every direction. These were the final hours of the Third Reich.
Die Zukunft gehört uns. Wir müssen stark sein und unsere Pflicht erfüllen für das Vaterland.
Beneath the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, a secret underground complex had been built. It was known as the Führerbunker. Located nearly 30 feet below the surface, it was protected by thick concrete walls, steel doors, and reinforced ceilings designed to withstand heavy bombing. It had its own ventilation system, electricity supply, communication rooms, and living quarters. This was not just a shelter. It was an underground command center, built to protect a collapsing empire. Inside, narrow corridors stretched between small concrete rooms. The air was stale, the lighting dim, the atmosphere suffocating. Here lived Adolf Hitler, his closest aides, military officers, guards, and staff. Above them, Berlin was being destroyed. Below, maps were studied, orders were issued, and hope slowly faded. Radio reports arrived constantly. Each one brought worse news than the last. Fear, uncertainty, and quiet despair filled the bunker walls.
Schnell, in den Bunker, jetzt! Los, los, ich bin direkt hinter dir!
By April 1945, Soviet forces had surrounded Berlin. Tanks rolled through shattered streets. Artillery thundered across the city. Explosions echoed day and night. Civilians hid in basements and underground shelters, praying for survival. German defenses were collapsing. Defeat was no longer a possibility. It was inevitable. Inside the bunker, Hitler's physical and mental condition deteriorated rapidly. His hands trembled, his movements slowed, his health declined. Yet he refused to accept reality. He continued issuing orders to armies that no longer existed. On April 29, 1945, in one of history's strangest moments, Hitler married his longtime companion, Eva Braun. Above them, the city burned. Below ground, a wedding ceremony took place. But Hitler knew the end was near. When the gunshot echoed through the bunker on April 30th, 1945, a heavy silence followed. Those waiting outside understood what had happened. Inside the room, Adolf Hitler lay dead. Eva Braun had taken poison beside him. There were no speeches, no final words, no ceremony. Only the end. Hitler had given strict instructions. His body must not be captured. His aides carried the bodies up through the bunker exit into the Reich Chancellery garden. Artillery shells exploded nearby. Fuel was poured over the bodies. They were set on fire. Flames rose into the grey Berlin sky as Soviet forces closed in just streets away. The man who once ruled Europe was reduced to ashes within minutes.
Die Linie ist durchbrochen. Nehmen Sie die Markierung von Stettin. Es ist verloren.
With Hitler dead, leadership of Germany passed to Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz, whom Hitler had named as his successor. But there was no empire left to lead. Communications were broken, armies were collapsing, cities were falling. The government existed only on paper. The Third Reich was finished.
Burn everything now! Get those radios smashed!
We have to move, the line is breaking.
Inside the bunker, order quickly collapsed. Some officers removed their uniforms and changed into civilian clothing. Others burned documents in a desperate attempt to erase evidence. Radio equipment was destroyed. Secret files were reduced to ash. The bunker that once controlled a war had become a shelter of fear and uncertainty. That night, groups attempted to escape Berlin. They moved through ruined streets under darkness, avoiding Soviet patrols. Gunfire echoed across the shattered city. Some escape groups managed to break through. Many were captured. Others disappeared in the chaos. Berlin had become a trap. On May 2, 1945, Berlin surrendered to Soviet forces. German resistance ended. Soldiers laid down their weapons. White flags appeared in shattered streets. The battle for Berlin was over. But the devastation was immense. Entire neighborhoods had vanished. Thousands lay dead beneath the rubble. The capital of the Third Reich was silent.
Осторожно.
Кажется, здесь никого нет.
Soviet troops eventually secured the Reich Chancellery grounds. They discovered the bunker complex hidden beneath the ruins. Rooms were abandoned, maps lay scattered, furniture overturned. The underground headquarters of the Nazi regime had been reduced to an empty shell. Soviet troops eventually secured the Reich Chancellery grounds. They discovered the bunker complex hidden beneath the ruins. Rooms were abandoned, maps lay scattered, furniture overturned. The underground headquarters of the Nazi regime had been reduced to an empty shell. Soviet troops eventually secured the Reich Chancellery grounds. They discovered the bunker complex hidden beneath the ruins. Rooms were abandoned, maps lay scattered, furniture overturned. The underground headquarters of the Nazi regime had been reduced to an empty shell. Soviet troops eventually secured the Reich Chancellery grounds. They discovered the bunker complex hidden beneath the ruins. Rooms were abandoned, maps lay scattered, furniture overturned. The underground headquarters of the Nazi regime had been reduced to an empty shell. Soviet troops eventually secured the Reich Chancellery grounds. They discovered the bunker complex hidden beneath the ruins. Rooms were abandoned, maps lay scattered, furniture overturned. The underground headquarters of the Nazi regime had been reduced to an empty shell.